station, BBC Radio Wales.
6:21. The trial of the former Egyptian president Mohamed Morsi will begin today. He's charged with organising a mass prison break during the 2011 uprising that toppled Hosni Mubarak, as well as murdering police officers during the breakout. Meanwhile, the army has thrown its support behind Field Marshal Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who deposed him and who appears poised to announce his own candidacy for the presidency. Let's speak to Dr. Andrea Teti, who's Director for Global Security and Governance at the University of Aberdeen, with a special interest in Egypt. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Morning.
Let's talk, first of all, about the trials that Mohamed Morsi is facing. Obviously, so far as the Muslim Brotherhood is concerned, the party of which Mr. Morsi is a member, these are political trials.
Yes.
How true is that?
Well, I mean, if you look at the number of trials that he's facing and the accusations that are levelled against him, whether one is sympathetic to the Brotherhood or not, it's quite clear that these are politically motivated trials. Today's trial, for example, which is one of four, accuses him and virtually all of the senior leadership of the Brotherhood, who've all been arrested, of supporting and making possible this jailbreak in the original January 25 uprising in 2011. But let's put it this way, I'd be extremely surprised to see any actual evidence that they did this.
When you combine that with the army throwing its full support, perhaps not surprisingly, behind Sisi in terms of his declaring his candidature for the presidency, he seems to have a great deal of support in Egypt too, particularly among those who crave stability after the turmoil of recent years. Do you see the military continuing to support to cement its grip on power?
Yes, absolutely, and this is exactly the rationale behind what's going on at the moment, because it's not just the Muslim Brotherhood that's being clamped down on, but any form of opposition. So you've seen quite a lot of activists, high profile, others who are low profile, either being arrested or harassed on trumped up charges. You've also seen academics, whether they're involved in politics or not, being arrested and accused of very similar things to the accusations that are being leveled to the Brotherhood. For example, collaborating with foreign powers, passing on secrets about Egypt to foreign powers. They're all extremely unlikely things. And this is part of the regime's strategy to trump up support, whip up kind of nationalist sentiment in order to back, to re-legitimize the regime. So what we're seeing is, in effect, a kind of Mubarak regime 2.0, just updated with Sisi. But the rhetoric is very similar. The politics are very similar. And also, we have to say, the lack of answers to Egypt's real problems are very similar. So there are a lot of people who are in the streets supporting the regime out of more or less desperation because Egypt's economic conditions are so poor. But they seem to forget, a lot of people seem to forget, that actually the regime, the Brotherhood, and the military are responsible for the current state of affairs in Egypt.
Just very briefly, a comment from you on the violence that we've seen recently, two violent clashes for the anniversary of the overthrow of Mubarak and also some car bombings as well.
I think the car bombings is a different issue. The anniversary of the 25th of January uprising was always going to be controversial, was always going to be tense. And, the Brotherhood supporters who opposed the removal of Morsi in a coup last July were always going to come out in demonstrations in mass, and that was always going to provoke tensions and clashes with the police. The bombings in the Sinai, from the Sinai in Cairo, are a different kettle of fish. I think that's much more to do with the regime's struggle with tribal groups in North Sinai in particular. And so these are kind of more or less mafia-style messages that these two groups are sending each other.
Okay, thank you very much for talking to us this morning. That was Dr. Andrea Teti, who's Director for Global Security and Governance at the University of Aberdeen.